So in this one, we need to talk about Mr. Legend Shallot. For one, you can see in the thumbnail, I think he needs a buff. Just to talk about the flaws in this character and what they could be doing, whether it be a real buff of a Go Frieza level, and I'll talk about the detail of that, or a buff of like a Legend Piccolo, DKP, Tambourine, Metal Cooler, all these other units that have been buffed in this year that's already passed, and of the current, he needs to get a buff one way or another, and I'll go into detail why. Starting out with, you show his stat spread here. So let's compare him to Legend Vegito, right? That guy is the first ever Legend, and I'll even go over how Shallot could have been a better appreciated, more respected drop of Legend if he were to be sellable a different way than they did it currently here. But it's 257, 271, 191, and 195, right? So, those are the stat spreads. Now let's compare him to Vegito, who is a more melee unit, Shallot's more blast unit. So you compare the strike of Vegito to the blast of Shallot. It is going to be fully arts boosted for both these characters at 14 stars. Vegito has a 280 strike, while Shallot has a 271 blast. So there's almost 10k differential on the extra of his damage inflicted there. So you can already see subpar stats for Mr. Shallot. The blast attack, similar vein, similar vibe. Defense is similar vein, similar vibe. A little bit lesser than, but still, it's similar vein enough to where I won't harp on it. But then the big issue arises within these two characters where Vegito is stacking overall damage inflicted while drawing cards and using cards. So you can see this guy really gets to high numbers really quickly, and even for a fact, Vegito right now is going to be a prosperous spot because he does that. That is a really good ability. Matter of fact, the only unit of this current 8th anniversary celebration that is a premium character that doesn't stack damage inflicted per doing cards, he does it when they swap or area change confrontation of those two mannerisms, is going to be Shallot. Go on Trunks, stack overall damage inflicted. Broly, a defense type, stacks overall damage inflicted while doing cards. And UGB stacks overall damage inflicted while doing cards. So the character that has the lower stats also, in turn, does not stack overall damage inflicted. And you might say, okay, maybe the Zenka buffs can make up for this. Well, even then, he has one of the worst Zenka buffers that you could probably offer for yourself, because all of them are going to give you a double defense or a strike attack defense. You have OG 3Ku, double defense. You have LFG 4, double defense. I'm not blaming these units for that. That's just, that's just what it is. You just have other Z-builders that could just make you better, right? Just the Zenka buff is the Zenka buff, so maybe that won't be a big problem. But every single Zenka buffer you have is going to be double defense, then every other Z-builder you're going to have is going to be trying to Zenka buff the other units on your team. That's what becomes a flaw. His only blast attack and defense Zenkai buffer that I believe is LF Beerus, and that's going to be when you run him on a God Key team, which you can do UGB, Shallot, whatever, for sure, but you probably won't even see that bench majority of the time, because if you're going to see Shallot, you're probably going to see him leadered with XYZ, of Go On Trunks, of Broly, of TGB, of Legend Rose, of UGB, and you'll just see somebody else there because you'll have a better third scenario where you're just not trying to have a God Key third on that, whether it be, again, any of these guys named. Some of them are not God Key to start the fight, or not in general. So his best Zenkai buffer, you never even run for himself. So you can't help him with he doesn't stack overall damage inflicted. He has lower stat spreads. He has 2022 animations, which, by the way, this is also a flaw to note within it. It's not as big of a flaw, clearly, as the actual kits that he has, but it is a flaw to note where he was already disregarded in a light of negativity, right? Obviously, you were thinking of him like, well, he just has old animations. And given maybe you don't see them often because you're doing a story and you're leaving, you're not touching the story till it refreshes and there's the new form and blah, 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 it still is regurgitation. At the end of the day, he is regurgitating moves and windscreens and poses and this and that and that and this that he's already had for years in past. Since 2022, I believe, he's had these animations and stuff. And mind you, the best part about it is the title screen has it where he has a better card art. He has a better card art that is not some slop copy paste of using Gogeta Blue from the 6th Annie. So there's just already a lot of bad talking about him within other mannerisms that aren't kit design. But kit design itself, I already note to you a couple things that are bad for him. And also noting within what's bad for him is how he just released as a green unit. This unit and other Super Saiyan God characters. You've seen 3 of them now. Super Saiyan God Green Goku next to Ulton. Purple, oh no, bad day. Blue Revhon next to Super Saiyan God Goku and Hit. Oh no, bad day. Super Saiyan God Shallot next to Gohan Trunks. Oh no, bad day. They have uncancelable endurance null, and while this man can go light type against Mr. Purples, it doesn't matter enough. It actually doesn't really mean much. I still one-shot this Shallot man. Now, I fight him actually a decent bit. I guess people are trying to just try him at their best and, you know, cope him or whatever, or just trying to get their bang for their buck because they summoned for this fuck-ass character. But I've had this unit just one-shot him regardless, if not get very close to. His 50% health on endurance is great and cool and all, but it's getting nullified by an uncancelable endurance null demon god that stacks damage inflicted really, really quick. That could have infinite key and infinite combo with infinite cover null. You would think the green unit that just released, and in turn, yes, Broly gets hurt by Gohan Trunks. I made the tier list, and obviously that's there too. But the green that's worse than Broly gets hurt as well. So we have many ways to where this unit is already fucked. He's already just fucked outright. And yet there's more. This unit, alongside other free-to-plays, because he should be a free-to-play unit within the way he has been dropped into this game and the way he is just subpar in so many capacities, are all gimmicks. You look at free-to-play units, you know, the latest EX, or Green Whis rather. I don't even have the guy, but I know that he's a gimmick unit. He wants to do those, you know, multiple green cards and just keep trying to get those cheesy mechanics on, I believe, Paralyze, or whatever it is for himself. And it's just, that's what free-to-play units have been for, like, the past year. They've just been gimmicks. They do one big gimmick, you know, one can tank really well. I think this, like, Goten or something can, like, tank really well, but, like, 0 damage inflicted. Gimmicks. They're gimmicks. Shallot is you blue card, you hope for a feint, and then you rinse and repeat. That is his life. He doesn't do good enough strike damage. He's just doing good enough blast damage to validate himself, because you always just have UGB or a better ranged unit as a partner, whether it be Gohan Trunks, whether it be UGB, whether it be anybody that's a better partnership to do better overall damage inflicted on normal cards, because they stack damage inflicted most likely, because almost damn near every unit this year feels like stack damage inflicted. That's premium unit release, which again, Shallot is. Why would you ever do any normal cards with him? You try to get a feint, great, and then you do this. This is your play for Shallot. You ready? You feint. Let's say against Gohan Trunks, you get the feint, then you rush. So you're going for an RNG feint into an RNG rush. And that is your optimal, idealistic Shallot play. He is a gimmick. Free-to-play units are gimmicks. Shallot, in turn, is meant to be a free-to-play unit. And we have these alternating arts. We have the other title screen art where it has Shallot and Giblet. We have the other Adventures art where it's Shallot and Giblet. It's like insinuating that they're supposed to be like a tag unit or something, or they should have been, or they were going to be, and maybe even actually like not look like they're from fucking 2022, which this motherfucker does. We have so much insinuation of more positive than negative that could have been, and that isn't in the current state. And yet there still was a way to make this specific character, maybe, you know, change his element or whatever, but still make this specific character an actual positive release. I think you might agree with this, and if you don't, well, shucks, gee willikers. You can't see Legends here, you can't see, obviously, within order received, the order that they have dropped, with Vegito being the first, and, you know, he was meant to be the callback to the first anniversary LF Vegito, and yes, he is that. You know, he is not reused animations, he is redesigned callback animations. It's different than the basic 2018 green card that Shallot has, then a little bit of Vegito doing the same Spirit Sword thing down. I've seen people compare that a lot, which is very fucking stupid, because again, it's a callback. It's not actually reusing the same animation from the 2019-2020 era. You know, it's a little bit different. But to the point really is Shallot could have just been the first ever legend. Why not? I get the callback, but like, just imagine Vegito and Shallot swapped positions of droppage. I'm not talking specifically even about Kit right here. I'm talking just generally speaking. Any other legend, Vegito, I'm just noting because it would have fit for, you know, Shallot. If they're gonna monetize them, just making the first ever legend. That's a pretty cool thing, right? Their OC is now the first of a new rarity. Could have been Ultra, but now it's legend. Oh my god, this is so cool, so epic. People probably would have been more positive about him than negative. I mean, right now everyone's negative about Shallot, right? There's Defenders, obviously, because they're like, and people had this for like God Goku on release as well. Both Goku hit. Green Godku. LFG4 had Defenders on release when he was complete dog shit as well. People always defend the subpar unit because they think it's like the quirky thing, the you know, they're slept on. They're not actually that bad. Again, this guy's an RNG into RNG reliant mechanic for his idealistic play. This unit is fucking terrible. But Still, any other character here in a hype factorization would have been more valuable, in my opinion, than Mr. Shallot. I understand people do care about the story to a degree. Maybe you care just about Shallot, and the real funny thing with Mr. Shallot is people always assumed he would be, you know, this ultra free-to-play, this Legends Limited free-to-play, when we had Legends Limited being the more and prime thing that was happening every month to month instead of Legend, before Legend. And then once he dropped as a sellable, everyone's just like, well, at least he's gonna look cool, right? And then he looks old as shit and awful as shit. Again, any other Legend here as a Part 2, I would have been more happy with than Mr. Shallot as a Legend for Mr. Part 2. Again, during that World Championship, this is your OC, bro. If there's any time to, you know, display them, you would think during the championship that people are really liking and really enjoying. Wow. Do we need another Vegito? Well, you just save that for an Annie. You know, it is Annie. We do get Vegetos every time, so like, let's just fucking stick to the script at this point. Literally every fucking Annie is somewhere helping a Vegito. And, well, right now we have the USPS tier Vegito. But still, I think that would have been more positive. And just to note, obviously, I am hoping for a buff for this character because we've seen it before. They did state that they would never do a buff again of the caliber of this Legends Limited here that we do have of Go Frieza, which being that it's actually kit redesign more than just stat increase, because they've done stat increases, right? Again, they've done DKP, they've done Metal Cooler, they've done Tambourine, they've done Legend Piccolo got a stat increase with himself with the Inflicted and Damage Guard for himself, which did not change a single fucking thing because they just underbaked all of those buffs for all those characters. They stated they wouldn't do this again. But in my eyes, this is your OC. This is your guy. Ain't nothing holding you back from just going against that. No one's harming you of thinking like, oh, they didn't follow their word? Yeah, Legends doesn't follow their word often. Do you see a new philosophy and how units just kind of ignored half the time? Yeah, no, they don't really follow their new fucking thoughts anyways. Because like, new philosophy, can't infinite combo. I've been infinite combo at Blue Revhon for like 3 months straight when he dropped. But yeah, he has safety and infinites. Super Saiyan 3 transforming Goku, you know, your son, literally just coexisting right there. A little bit fucking stupid, but you know, they don't follow it. So people aren't going to be like, oh, you can't do this. You said you wouldn't do it ever again. No, you can, though. You can. You should, actually. As much as I dislike the notion of Shallot being in the game and being Sono with these crusty-ass shit animations and this crusty-ass copied fucking card art, because it really is just complete fucking slop shit. I don't want a unit to be bad because people summon for them. So people should have their bang for their buck. Whether it be a positive or negative idea to summon. Mind you, his banner is completely shit, which is also a factorization into this fuckery that he is here of fucking ass. I don't want a unit to be shit for players because they do summon, regardless. Just if they like the character or not, the unit just should be shit. You know, people were not happy that he was bad, so they wanted the buff. He got the buff. The buff should have been better. But he shouldn't have been bad because people like the character, right? Maybe not as many people, but still people like the character. I need this guy helped. Bare minimum, give him the DKP, all that bullshit, damage guard, damage inflicted up. That would help for sure because the lower stats, and that would kind of not fix it because he still would be worse than Legend Vegito on just a card-to-card basis. And again, this is right now. While this is the newest Legend in the game, that is the oldest Legend in the game. But yet, Shallot would still be worse on Vegito's one-to-one basis of card. It wouldn't fix him. So if you want to do that buff, you really ain't changing shit. Maybe he goes from like barely top 10 to like barely top 7. It does not do anything of impact that actually matters and any merits of actual positivity. They gotta do full kit redesign. They gotta make him stop being a blue card merchant. They gotta make it where they could like lower the feint chance. You know, make that shit just get away from that mentality of we're gonna try to make this guy be a gimmick. It doesn't make any sense. There's no positivity to relying on gimmicks because gimmicks are unreliable. The whole thing you see in units that are good is consistency. So you in part 1 would see Green Broly consistently stopping combos, and guess what? Because he's getting fucked over now, where he can get bursted down now, he's a less consistent. So in turn, Green Broly got worse. Consistency was his big factor. It's less consistent now, so he's worse now. It's very simplistic. Shallot is entirely based off being inconsistent. So why not just change that to where, sure, that gimmick can exist, sure, it could be a piece of shit, sure, people are going to bitch about it, but just not make it his only thing in his life. Up those stats, up those numerics, make him stack Damage Inflicted. Maybe, you know, as potent as Vegito, no, but, you know, in a mannerism where it's just respectable, because if everyone else can stack Damage Inflicted per card done, you know, you gotta be where it's at least he draws a card, he gets 20% damage inflicted, 10 counts, you know, boom, 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 and he keeps doing that, right? Make his green card where he spawns 2 cards, not a blue card, but he spawns 2 cards, and he just keeps going. Then he like gets blue cards on entry instead of on the green card, so he can actually combo instead of just be the blue card merchant that he is right now. There's ways to fix this guy. There's ways they can just actually make him good, and he's not going to be this, you know, top 3 most likely unit if we were to get like a big buff. I just can't see that with Gohan Trunks being as good as they are, but he would be in this top 5, and I just want my new unit to not be utter fucking shit and comparable to the 1% from the opposite banner, which is again the infinitely better banner, because on this banner that Pan is on, you can build an entire hybrid team. And mind you, Shallot does want to be on a fusion team within himself and Vegito and Gogeta. That just feels like it's going to be a team he wants to be on. It's not the best, but it's just the team he desires. He could put him anywhere. But again, that's his desire. That team is worse than Hybrid Saiyans, which again can all be built on one banner. That team I just mentioned of fusions is all separate banners. UGB's his own, Shallot's his own, Vegito's his own. Why would you ever have a desire for this character besides you think he's cool? And in turn, if you think he's cool, then he should be better than just being slop shit that does nothing besides rely on fucking gimmicks. I recommend, if you want him to actually be good, and maybe you don't because he is a really bad representation of what things could come within lazy reused animations and literally regurgitation of shit stains. If you don't want to be good, I understand why you wouldn't do this. But if you do want to be good and want people to actually have value to summon for characters that are, well, this fucking ass, just tweet at DB Legends, just generally, hashtag buff LR Shallot, one word. I promise you, they were doing this during God Goku. He eventually got his equipment 6 months later. They were doing this during LFG4. He got his equipment 3 months later. If there's anything they need, it is to hear vocalization of him sucking. And if you don't think he sucks, that's good for you. It says a lot about how you perceive the game, in my opinion, and it's just not very centric to how the game actually works. Because again, if you think RNG on RNG is a good mechanic to rely on, it's not. It's utter shit. You will never find consistency, and you might have good success with Shallot for 1 or 2 games. Then 6 games later, in a row, you're in hell because you didn't get the feint. You didn't get this, you didn't get that. And guess what? Now you want him buffed. I hope they do it. He deserves something better than this shit, even though he is ugly as fuck. I'll see you in the next one.